What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Now today I've got two fantastic revenge stories for you. You're going to want to watch the whole of this video, guys, trust me, because they are elite. First up, a story about a lunch thief. In a massive company with hundreds of employees, this guy doesn't care. He just steals other people's lunches. And the way OP gets back at him is pretty fantastic. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but pretty much if you're into spy movies or, you know, Mission Impossible, things like that, you're gonna love this story. The second story involves someone else stealing, but in this one, all I'll say is that the repercussions are potentially a lot more serious. Here we go. Employees' lunches are their personal property, and the company is not responsible for lost or stolen personal items. Nobody likes a lunch thief, and I had one of the most aggressive at my office. There were rumors for a few months leading up to the inciting incident of someone going around and taking people's lunches. Just about every day, someone different would complain that their lunch was missing. It's even happened to me once or twice. But I figured, hey, it's a big office, a few people are probably just careless, grab the wrong lunch, and are too embarrassed to bring it back. Or someone else packs their lunch and they don't know what's in there, so it's not obvious they have the wrong one, or whatever. Most people just brought brown bags with their names on it anyways, or identical Rubbermaid Tupperware with a little piece of labeled tape on the side. It was easy enough to mix it up. I had accidentally grabbed a wrong lunch once or twice, but I'd noticed before I got it open. I thought I was just more careful, or even just not as busy as some other people in my building. However, other people weren't as forgiving, and a quorum made complaints to HR. They were blown off. Personally, at the time, I thought it was all much ado about nothing. But then it began. My wife enrolled in a French cooking class online, and just about every day, I was bringing fancy gourmet leftovers in for lunch. You'd think I was picking up a to-go bag from a Michelin star bistro on the way in each morning. She really threw herself into the coursework. There were no problems for about 2 weeks, maybe 3, until one day my lunch went missing. Considering what delicacies I had to look forward to, I was pretty miffed. But I did it once over around the break room and didn't see anyone eating my lunch. So I figured someone grabbed my bag by accident earlier, saw how good things looked, and, realizing it was their lucky day, didn't bring it back to the fridge. I wrote the mysterious stranger off as a butthole, but accepted the loss and looked forward to dinner that night instead. Next day, I write my name on my lunch in extra bold lettering, jam the bag into the back of the fridge, and feel peace of mind. I get there come break time. Nope, it's gone. I was pretty upset, but I figured it was a stroke of bad luck and left it at that. What else could I do? However, third day, out of an abundance of caution, I kept my lunch at my desk. A pain because I had to eat it fairly early in the day to avoid spoilage, but at least I'd know where it was. I got up to take care of some business down the hall, and when I came back, yep, my lunch was gone. Unfortunately, that didn't help me narrow it down much at all, because my desk is centrally located so everyone is constantly passing by. At that point, there was no possibility of the theft being arbitrary, so I approached HR and filed a complaint. Their response, practically verbatim, was, "Employees' lunches are their personal property, and the company is not responsible for lost or stolen personal items." The following day, my wife packed a cream-based soup that really had to be refrigerated. I was passing by the break room to check on my lunch practically every 5 minutes. Somehow, it still managed to disappear. I was irate at this point, and returned to HR and really blew my top. The best they could do was send a memo around about remembering to check the name on your lunch when you remove it from the fridge, but they made it very clear that it was a routine memo and was in no way related to my complaints, which were not their jurisdiction, so not an admission of responsibility, because my lunch was my own personal problem. The only suitable alternative to packing a lunch available in the building are these wretched shrink-wrapped ham and cheese sandwiches from a vending machine. They've been marinating in the heat for God knows how long, and the bread is as stale as corkboard, and the meat is rancid, and there's gluey mayo smushed into the center. It's a relic of the old office tenants, I'm pretty sure. I vented daily to my wife, but her only idea was to start bringing a regular sandwich and apple again to dissuade the thief and get him to move on to other lunches. So, Determined to prevent this low-life scum from downgrading the quality of my lunch, I hatched an elaborate plan. Then the pandemic hits, and I forgot all about this whole saga. I worked remotely for months and months. Then we returned, and after all that had happened globally, this was the last thing on my mind. But I got to the break room the first day back, frustrated from having to wear a button-up and tie after months of working in pajamas, sore from my desk chair, and exhausted from small talk, only to find my lunch was gone. This was a particularly sore point, because my wife and I divorced between my last lunch at work and the present one. So I did not appreciate being reminded of any past threads involving her. I pretty much flew into a blind rage at that point, especially seeing that stupid, worthless memo about checking the lunch bag names posted in the break room, feeling so helpless and so hungry and so alone, as it was me and my lunch against the world. I stormed out and was determined to return the next day with a plan. So I came in the following day with an empty lunch bag, and I checked closely to be sure that no one was watching, and I switched the contents of the HR person's lunch bag into my bag, so now their lunch appeared to be my lunch. They'd packed a regular brown bag, so I just discarded that and I left, and I waited. I knew this was a pretty big gamble because it was contingent on the theory that the thief was avoiding me while having lunch but wasn't wary of anyone else. So they would eat out in the open if there was no risk of bumping into me. So I made a big show of going around the office, announcing that I was headed out for a meeting and I wouldn't be back until at least 3 p.m. I even went to the trouble of moving my car out of the lot to a space 2 streets over, where I then sat in my car and worked remotely for several hours before sneaking into the building up the back stairway. I then sat in the stairwell just outside the break room where you can hear chatter but can't be seen, and after about 20 to 30 minutes of waiting, I heard it. The sweetest sound I'll ever hear in the office. The HR person said, "What the heck, Kyle? That's my lunch." The lunch thief then said, "Nah, it's not your name on the bag. Give me that." I'm assuming the HR person grabs the bag and then sees my name on it. Yeah, let's head to my office for a chat. The HR rep later called me in as well and said they were aware of your break room hijinks, but it was obvious that the point still came across loud and clear. They warned me that it was a violation of policy to move another employee's lunch. It took every ounce of self-control for me to keep from retorting, "I thought our lunches were our personal property and the company was not responsible for them being lost or stolen." They informed me they'd located the thief and things would be handled accordingly. But better than whatever write-up they might be able to issue to Kyle, his reveal as the lunch thief occurred in front of the whole break room. So word quickly spread as to who had been stealing everyone's lunches earlier last year, and he is now the office pariah. He was in line for a promotion. The promotion is indefinitely off the table. And I also earned brownie points for exposing him, though more than I'm satisfied with are being attributed to the HR man. At the end of the day though, I didn't do this for discredit, or even the sweet, sweet, sweet revenge. I did it to get my lunches back. And there we go, guys. A pretty legendary revenge story, if you ask me. Completely deserved, by the way. I can't think of much worse than being in a massive office and being, what, too lazy, I guess, to make your own lunch? So then just relying on stealing other people's who then can't even eat their own lunch. Like, how bad of a person do you have to be? If it was me in this role, yeah, and one of my employees was genuinely stealing lunch from other people, they wouldn't be written up. They'd be sacked. Like, morally, that is such a horrible thing to do. It's literally stealing from your employees, your colleagues, hopefully your friends, some of them. What a horrible thing to do. Get out of my company, Kyle, and don't bloody come back. I tell you what, Mr. HR man, he wasn't even that good either, was he? He was like, oh, not my problem. And then as soon as it starts to affect him and you brilliantly put that whole kind of like issue that you were having onto the HR person, and then he's like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll do something about it. Very poor from him, but not as poor as it is from Kyle. I mean, seriously, what sort of a bloke do you have to do that? Horrible. Now moving on to our second story of today's episode. Stealing from locker? Enjoy your trophy. One of the recent posts here reminded me of a story from my father. He works in a factory in Eastern Europe, And this event occurred somewhere in the 1980s. I know how weird it seems now in 2021, but at the time, it was pretty common that workers in factories would come to work drunk, or they would drink alcohol at work. My father was not much different, and he would occasionally bring a bottle of brandy and keep it in his locker. These lockers were pretty easy to access without a key. You just need a screwdriver or some piece of metal, and the door would be easily bent and returned to original afterwards. The factory worked in shifts, and when you'd come in the next day, you would just notice that someone opened your locker and something was missing that you left inside a day earlier. As my father would bring in quite good booze, it would often be missing the next day. After who knows how many times his booze was stolen, he'd had enough of it and decided to set a trap for the thief. The brandy he usually brought was a similar colour to whiskey, due to it being matured in oak casks. And he took an empty bottle to the toilet and filled it with his urine and locked it back in his locker and went home after his shift was over. As the shifts had a slight overlap, there was no break in factory process. Next day, when he came to work, people from the previous shift were still there. He came to his locker and noticed that the bottle was completely missing. He got to his workspace and loudly asked if anyone knows what had happened to the bottle with urine from his locker. He said that he had to go to get a medical check as he might have some urinary infection and had to bring morning urine, but he'd forgotten it in his locker the day earlier. One of the guys turned red and started yelling at my father. How dare he leave urine in a bottle labeled as brandy? That someone could have mistakenly drunk it and got seriously sick. After that, his locker was not robbed ever again. And that guy has gotten a new nickname, a pee drinker. Well, pretty strong similarities there with the first story. I wonder if the person who stole the brandy, the whiskey, the pee, is Kyle from the past. Seems unlikely, but you never know. I do kind of rate your dad though. I mean, I'll be honest. It would have been better. It would have been more. Would it have been better? It would have been probably a little bit. It definitely would have been more serious if your dad had let this guy drink the brandy, thinking it was brandy, but you know, really it's pee. But then again, what are the chances of him opening the bottle and not smelling it, or at least, you know, looking at it and seeing that it's not the same quality or color exactly as what brandy might have been? He probably would have realized. So it's probably better to out him live at work in front of everyone. And now, of course, he has that new fantastic nickname. Do you get what I'm saying, though? Could it have been better if he just let him take it home and drink it? The chances of him actually drinking it after opening it were probably quite low, but wow. Imagine he actually drunk your dad's... That would have been elite. But no, probably safer and overall a little bit more embarrassing to you know, out him at work. So well done to your dad. A great story. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of r/ProRevenge. Two brilliant stories. I mean, I said it in the intro, but was I lying? It's up to you to decide, really. I mean, you can comment down below. Did you enjoy them? If you did, drop a like on the video. Watch some more straight away. Some more fantastic revenge videos and stories in here. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe with notifications on. Join the notification gang. Get notified every time I post a video. And I'll see you all tomorrow for a brand new one.